Geocachomaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome back to the GeoGearHeads. This is episode 329. For those who aren't regular listeners of the show, this is the weekly show about geolocation stuff. And tonight we have one of our favorite types of shows because it's not about any one thing. It's a randomized show, which means lots and lots of topics. And to be honest, I think this week it's going to be all feedback because we have that much feedback. So I'm Daryl W4 for Chris of the Northwest, and our special guest tonight is Gary, also known as G-Slink, from Geocache Talk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Always glad to be here. I love GeoGearHeads. I don't know about anybody else. I assume they do because they're listening.
I would hope so, but you know, we don't necessarily aim to make everyone love us. We just hope they do on their own. You know.
Well, I do. I love it.
Daryl, that is the main reason we do a podcast, is for people to love us.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just so that we could talk some more. And
a lot of good info.
Well, and hear our own voice.
You guys are awesome.
Pretty much the same thing as people loving us.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, Gary, were you one of the guys that actually got into podcasting because of that show that we did, like, I want to say 5 years ago, about the history of podcasting?
I didn't. You know, the reason I got into podcasting was really it was you, Daryl. You're the one. No, it was.
So I'm still responsible, but it wasn't that show.
You're still you're still responsible though. No, it was it was a combination of listening to geocaching podcast originally and podcast, still do, but I mean that was the originator, and then when you were doing when you were doing both shows for a while there, and then also Podcaster, that really was kind of the genesis of that. And then when Michael Miller was doing his, I kind of glammed onto him for a while, and it's like, hey, you want to be on all the time? Yes, let me be on all the time. It'd be wonderful. So that's all started.
And when he called it quits, you kept going.
I said, oh, I'm going to keep going. Let's see if I can keep this thing kind of rolling. So you were on show number 1 too. That was awesome.
I was, and many others that I can't even remember, including I think 53.
Yeah, it was it's 2-year anniversary, and I guess you'll be on the 3-year.
Yeah, we've got it booked. It's the weekend after Geo Woodstock.
Yes.
I made it for a good half show.
Yeah, you were in for half a show. We're gonna have you on again. We'll get you worked in there.
Weren't you on one of the St. Jude's fundraisers? Yeah.
Well, kind of. I was on. Let's see. We sent in audio for the last one.
Yeah, because they weren't in town.
Wits End and Land Monkey made the first one, right? And this was the second year or third year.
This was we did 2. Yeah, we've done it twice, and Wits End was on. Land Monkey wasn't on for that one, but we do appreciate you guys sending the audio in. I put that out for everybody, and we've had great success doing that. Yeah, Daryl's been on that both times, and if everything goes well, we'll do a third, and we raised some more money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. It was great.
Excellent.
That is a great cause.
Chris, really, Limax is taunting you.
Taunting who?
Chris.
Me? Oh, no, Chris. Okay, good.
Because Limax was on for an entire show.
Yes, he was. He and I did the. Yeah, Limax was on for the Halloween show. You can imagine how that went.
Why is Limax rolling?
I don't know.
Is he going down the road, or did he just fall down a hill?
Maybe he's rolling on the way to his, I think, rehearsal that he had to go to.
That's right.
So let's roll on to some feedback, though, because we've got a bunch of it to go through. ZQX, who you might remember was the initiator of a lot of the conversation for the last show, emailed in and said that he really enjoyed the show with Poker Luck. He started looking at the puzzles and solving a few for fun. Doesn't think he's ever going to get to the area, but you never know. Solve puzzles that look interesting anyway, right? He's already found some ideas that he can use and modify a little bit for use in the next installment of the UFO series, southwest of Canberra. Canberra?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That sounds like fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, especially a UFO series. Everything must be hanging in trees.
Well, it's GeoArt. We know that much for sure. But I'm thinking, how much fun would it be to make like GeoArt of battling UFOs?
There you go.
It's like in the movies.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have exactly like wouldn't you have like a mini crop circle or something too?
Hey, can we use like animated icons for the puzzles?
There you go.
What if you just link to videos?
Well, here. Anyway. How about like dual GeoArt? When you create the puzzle, it's like one shape of like a UFO. When you solve it, it's a different shape, like the UFO's in a different position. Okay, too much work.
Well, you could, if you had puzzles with different locations, geocaching.com will show the solved location, not the original location. So you could move it.
Make the corrected coordinates different shape.
Always corrected coordinates.
Only you would know that though, right, Chris? I mean, nobody else would see
only
it.
Those who solved it, yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, not me, because I've never solved them.
Me either.
But speaking of GeoArt, we have email from Sim Rebel. He's an owner of a couple of GeoArt series in Ontario, made up of puzzle caches that were really busy during Planetary Pursuit. Everyone getting 15 points for each one. That's the HNAG, the HNAG Duck GeoArt.
Well, I'm thinking that
it must be low. It keeps yelling duck.
It's a low hang, or it's a it's a UFO buzzing you. There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, that like kind of coincides with what we had been talking about on the show, where more people were hitting the puzzles because of the 15 points. That kind of goes back to something I think it was actually Scott Burks was saying is he kind of wanted to see like weights to the find. So if you found like a multi, it was worth 2 points. If you found a puzzle, was worth 3.
Right.
And I don't want to put words into Scott's mouth, but that was someone had been saying that on the geocaching podcast, like 4 or 5 years ago, when we were talking about like a scoring system to replace just the plain find counts. But like
and
Scott
I don't have a
likes
problem with that.
Well, Scott likes the multi caches. He doesn't like that they don't get updated and maintained as well as they should. But he's, I think, kind of hoping from the scoring that would encourage people to do the multis. But right now, as it stands, it's only one find, which I like the one find thing. Don't get me wrong, because it is just one find. But it's one of the reasons why I like the idea of the Friend League, was because now we can possibly get some scoring in, and it would hopefully motivate people to do some of the more interesting hides, like some of the crazy weird letterboxes and multi-caches, and obviously the puzzles, since that's what we've been talking about a lot. And just give people something more than a single smiley that gets counted. I love doing multis. I hate it when they get like stage 4 or whatever goes missing and you can't find the last. And I've been working for 6 months, I think now, on trying to find, actually it might be closer to a year, on trying to find multi-cache. Got stage 1, no problem. Got to stage 2, it's missing entirely.
Oh.
Contacted the CO about 3-4 weeks later. He got out when the weather was good enough. He replaced stage 2. I couldn't get out there for like another month. Half of the coordinates were gone again already. So it's been going around like this forever. I finally got over to find the final just this last week. The container was cracked open and filled with like mud. Not just water, but mud.
Still smiley.
Did you sign the
because I
mud?
couldn't find the log.
You could sign the mud with a stick. TW.
I took a photo and sent it.
Take your picture. You'll be fine. That'll count.
Grumble. But see, this is why I don't like the multis, is because it's a lot of investment for something to go wrong like that.
Yeah, I agree. Several years ago, there was a puzzle multi-cache here in town where each step, you had to solve a puzzle to get to the next one. And each stage of that was worthy of its own cache. It was that difficult. Wits End and I took probably a week going back and forth several times to complete all the stages.
Yeah, no, I've done a number of those where it's like these should be full out caches, not stages of a multi. Why do we want a 20 stage multi in this park so that the entire park is taken up by one multi cache when it could be, 15 or 20 really good traditional caches? Wet Coaster, though, says that the Anag is, the Doc GeoArt we were just talking about, Haldimand Norfolk area geocachers. Sorry. I
like
messed that
Panag.
up. Me too. Code Junkie wants Project GC to get on the point scoring. Don't they actually have something like that? Isn't that maybe like the karma or something score?
Something like that, yeah. I do like how they gave you points if it was a highly favorited cache, just to get you out there and go to find those.
Oh, yeah.
As well as the different types. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah. Well, and I think the points there, the favorite system probably could use some review. Just in it's very uneven how people distribute their favorite points.
Oh yeah.
There's some areas where it's like, if you found my cache, you're giving me a favorite point, and there's other areas where it's like, favorite points are too precious, never let them go. And I admit I'm kind of one of those. I rarely favorite any caches, but the reason isn't so much that I'm hanging on to them.
You're stingy.
It's most of what I find are park and grabs, and rarely is a park and grab worth a favorite point. That's not to say it isn't. I have given park and grabs favorites.
Or could, potentially.
Yeah. But one of the stipulations is if it's like a park and grab, it has to be in good condition. And
right.
If you're not doing maintenance on it, I'm not going to give you a favorite point.
I think we should make a petition to change Daryl's name to Daryl the Grinch W4 for not giving out favorite points.
How about Scrooge?
He's got high standards. That's
Scrooge,
all right.
Scrooge W4.
Scrooge W4. I have found highly favorited caches, and I walk up and go, really? Why?
I know. Well, and I have found,
because a lot of other people found them.
I have found a couple of those where it's that the cache was changed. It was a really good container, and it got muggled or whatever, and someone just put a lock in place, and it's like, okay, I get it, but can someone let me know?
I have one like that where originally it was a Joker, and it was cool because he was inside of a container, and when you tried to move it to pull the log out, he would go off and he'd start talking. Now it's not. that was muggled. So I guess I should go back and put a note that said something to the effect that this one isn't, the favorites are no longer.
Well, no, what I typically like to see is something like, this container has been changed on something in the description so that it's not the original container.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
Part of the reason for that is if I'm going back and looking at the comments and things, which I tend to do if I get stuck finding it, I want to know that after such and such date, it's not actually the case. And a lot of times it's actually changed the size, which gets into a whole different problem. Is that even the same cache anymore?
Right.
But I've gone out for caches where it's like, okay, I know I can put a travel bug in here. You get there, no, you can't put a travel bug in there. It's not big enough because someone changed the container out.
That's frustrating.
It has to be changed. Like one time, I had a cache that was in some nice shrubs. Well, the city came by and removed all those shrubs. My cache was still there because it was actually like in a log next to it. But now you could see the container. So I had to change out the container, and I actually archived the cache and made a new cache because I'm changing the size.
Right. Yeah, you hate that when you're looking for large caches and it you get there and it's like,
or even regular caches.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Anything big enough that you put a travel bug in, and you get there and you're like, really? I can't put a travel bug in this thing. So yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah. But no, I like the idea of the point system of some type. And these contests are great because it gets people going and gets them motivated again. My wife has decided that she wants to do a daily streak. So we're on day 32 of that streak right now because, we got started trying to find a cache every day for Planetary Pursuit. We ended up like over by almost double, I think, the find count, which, by the way, Gary, you were reading out the score.
Yeah.
It's off by 60 points on the page.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was logging, submitting logs while they were having problems, so it didn't calculate the score for those logs.
Oh, okay.
So Renee's score was actually correct.
Oh, cool.
Mine is missing a bunch.
You're missing some.
So she won. If we were competing, even though we found exactly the same caches, she won because hers counted and mine didn't.
Points went in. Speaking of contests, I think you guys also have found something that we kind of noticed, which was the Georgia Geocaching Association is doing weekly contests. Each week, the GGA announces a new set of challenges where our members can earn raffle tickets to earn prizes at each of our monthly events. I think this is really cool.
Yeah. Well, and FSU Chris, who's on the steering committee, actually wrote us and sent us links to the rules and the weekly contest. But Carrot Killer is actually the one who tipped us off to it originally, and we're going to have him on the show.
Oh, awesome!
So we're not going to talk really about doing the contests, but May 3rd for episode 331, GeoMonkey Tiger is going to be on to talk about the competitions is what we're calling it. But, basically, how do you motivate yourself through things like the Georgia Geocaching Association, the Planetary Pursuit, through these kind of things and setting up your own? Because one of the things we started talking about when we were emailing back and forth was just the trouble that you sometimes have motivating yourself to get out caching, and how you can set goals to do that and make a game on your own. So I'm really excited for that show, not just to find out about this weekly challenge set that they've got going, but also for some of the goals. A lot of people use just your standard challenge cache to do it, but I'm not one of those because I like to look for the challenge cache stuff, but quite honestly, it's too much work. It's like finding something like the Jasmer.
Right.
I've got pretty much everything in the area that I can. So it's not going to motivate me to get out and doing it on a daily, weekly basis.
I mean, at this point, you're going to
travel.
You're going to have to go quite a ways to get the rest of them, pretty much. Like Georgia or Utah or different places. Yeah.
Well, there are some, like in the UP last I checked, some in Wisconsin, some in, it's a good day-long drive to get to most of these caches.
Right. But it's not like going to Utah from Detroit. But
so it's like, yeah, I could start doing it, but
What's wrong
it's like
with Utah?
What?
they have too much salt.
Just in one lake.
Oh,
Just-
okay.
But-
But anyway, so it's like those kind of things are great, but it's not the kind of thing that really tends to keep me motivated.
and those are, like you said, that it's not a weekly. Like they're working on setting up stuff for weekly contests. So, I mean, like you said, or so what you're talking about is, or what we were talking about is more of a really planned out long trip, kind of once a year. You're going to maybe take a trip that size.
Yeah, I need to really get up. Like Ed in the chat is telling me, I need to get up to Power Island and 612, which Chris Rockchalk was just mentioning that on the last podcast that you released to the feed. I was actually supposed to go with him with that, and my wife got sick. Then I got sick, so I had to scrap it entirely. I was kicking myself so hard, and it was kind of the good thing is that day we were supposed to go, I was hacking up a lung. So, okay, at least I know I made the right choice by not going.
You're not committed enough, Daryl. That's all there is to it.
Probably in
that's
some
the
people's
problem.
minds.
They haven't committed me yet, so I'm still out on the loose.
Oh, well, there you go.
If
you
I had
didn't
been
have enough
committed, if I had been committed enough, I wouldn't have had the option to go on my own anyway. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I'm anxious to do that show, because if you're doing the caching streak, obviously you've got the motivation. But like one year, I wanted to get out and find better caches, and that just didn't really work, because it's like, how do you even find the better caches?
What do you guys think of what they're doing as far as based on your points, you get a certain number of raffle tickets? I know y'all talk about this on y'all's show, but just in general, what do y'all think about having something like that for your monthly event to get together? And if you show up, you get more. I think you get more raffle tickets. It's kind of cool. Something different.
Try this again,
That
because
is
I'm not sure I understand what it is that you're doing.
This is something that they're doing, the Georgia Geocaching Association. So as you collect points, you have a certain number of points. When you go to their monthly event, then they hand out a certain number of raffle tickets to you based on instead of, like in some places you would buy, you're buying raffle tickets. The money goes to, for the funds for the association. But in their case, they're going to be giving raffle tickets to earn prizes based on your points.
Yep.
See-
Yeah, I like that idea.
No, I think it's completely unfair, because that gives a bias for those who go out and actually find caches.
Did actually geocache, Chris? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, not fair at all.
Those darn geocachers, I tell you.
No, it's just the geocaching podcasters.
Hey, I'm almost up to 200 caches this year, I think.
Wow.
I'm trying to stay up with Daryl. I'm not quite there yet, but I think if
We
I'm
were
not keeping
quite
up with
happy-
Land Monkey. There's no way. What's
We were
that?
quite happy to learn that we have 88 caches for this month, which is our best so far since my wife and I started dating, actually, except for the mega events. When we hit the mega events, we go and do a lot more caching.
So what's going to happen at a Giga event?
We're not going to do much caching at all.
Oh, okay.
There's far too much to do. But
true.
yeah, like the West Bend Cache Bash, I think we did something like 150 caches, because we did over 100 caches in just under or just over an hour, something ridiculous like that.
Wow.
And they have new power trails like that out there every year.
It's insane.
So you can always do at least one power trail like that at West Bend Cache Bash. That's why I want to keep going back there. It's an amazing event, really well done. And we've got a bunch of caches. We've got the really great, astounding caches, like great gadget caches, well-designed containers. You have park and grabs that are rather boring, like the pill bottle stuck to the outside of the stop sign at the police station.
Oh boy.
That's how much the town knows and loves geocaching.
That is insane.
You have a pill bottle stuck to the outside of the stop sign in front of the police station with cop cars going out in and out all the time, and they just ignore the cachers.
Right.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
But you've also got the quickie parking grabs, and this is the style where you go start at the container of logs. You grab 2 or 3, start signing in the back seat. You drop it. Keep rotating until you're done, and whatever's left over you drop back at that, because it goes in circles, so it's nice and easy,
sort of ET highway style, sort of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Boy, we got that one off route. Chris, get us back on track here.
Let me read you an email from Hide Go Seek. He says, I know your pain using Cachely when geocaching is down. Last August, I was using Cachely offline when the GC site went down and Cachely wouldn't work. Many users had the same problem, and Nick fixed that problem in a subsequent update. Now, Cachely works in offline mode no matter what's wrong with those darn hamsters. There is a catch, however, pun intended. If you mistakenly log out of Cachely, then you're screwed, because with the GC site not working, you cannot get back into Cachely. The trick is not to log out. And Nick recently agreed that it's not crystal clear what to do. He posted, there is a cancel option, and you're not required to log out. Hitting cancel will keep you in Cachely. However, I realize this isn't very clear, and in 4.3, that dialog box will be fixed so that you only get the warning about geocaching.com being down and no option to log out. That way, someone won't make the mistake of logging out and getting stuck.
Which is good information, except that what happened to me is it told me that my token or whatever was bad and kicked me out. Because it wasn't, this time around, it wasn't that geocaching.com went down, though ultimately I think it did. It was that the authentication system went wonky. It lost contact with the usernames and rejected everything.
Yeah, I took a picture of it. It says not, and this is what you're talking about, Daryl. It says not authorized. Your account needs to be validated. Please visit geocaching.com and go to your account settings to finish validating your account. Once this has been completed, you'll be able to log in to Cachely. Note, this could also be a geocaching.com server issue causing the temporary issue, server error causing the temporary issue, which is what it was. It was they were down, not
Well, and that's when I had logged all those caches that didn't get counted too, was in that little window. I finally got logged back in and submitted them, and then it got broken, and so
right. Which I would just cancel out the message, because we already kind of knew, or at least I knew that it was not. I mean, Cachely is completely dependent upon GC.
Yeah, except that you have the offline and it does work when you're out of range.
Right.
See, and what I should have done, and didn't have a chance before it, it had I known, I should say, I would have just turned off cellular data for Cachely, and I probably would have been just fine.
Yeah.
But because it got that message and forced me out, you see, I don't have anything but the cancel or okay, whatever it was. There was only the option that said, you're not logged in anymore, basically.
Right.
So, and I'm not sure that I even got that big long message. I got something a lot shorter, like, bad login or something like that.
Oh, okay. I think it's because I was already in and I was just trying to use the app. And when I was in it,
that's what happened to me. I was actually using it, and then all of a sudden it stopped working. And I got this message that just kicked me out. I'm panning around on the offline, nonetheless, looking for the next cache to hit, and all of a sudden, boink, I'm out. Ooh, bad news.
Yeah.
So.
Not cool, man.
No, it's one of those, once a year or something, we have a major issue with geocaching.com. And until that happens, issues like this aren't usually detected. So hopefully Nick finds a good solution for it in 4.3, and we'll cross our fingers that we won't have to test it to see if it actually works.
That's for sure.
Well, Nick does a fabulous job with Cachly.
He does. And he's one developer doing all of that work. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. Well, should we jump on to another subject?
We should.
Okay, let's do this. Another email from Quester Mark this time. He said Quester Mark emailed back that his iPhone 10 is much easier to read in sunlight when out geocaching as compared to the iPhone 6 Plus. Face ID works better now that I redid it. It's probably about 80%. If you have glasses, take them off to record the Face ID, but leave them on to unlock. The first time I left them on to record, and it didn't hit much if I took them off, and the light had to be right when I left them on.
Okay, so good information there. And really what this is doing is way back when the iPhone 10 came out, pretty much. We were talking about the OLED is supposed to be better in sunlight, but we'd have to give it a try. And Quester Mark has actually done that and said, yes, it is much better and easier to read in the sunlight. So there's a reason to go for the iPhone 10 or, just about anything that's using OLED over something that's using the LCDs. So good to know, but I still don't really like the iPhone 10. I know a lot of people who love it. And a lot of people have been complaining now that had been thrilled with Face ID that it stopped working as well. And I think some of that is changes that they've made to Face ID to prevent some of the issues that we've seen with like kids unlocking their parents' iPhones.
Interesting.
I don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of the impression I'm getting. However, all of them who have been complaining have also said if they go and reset the Face ID, it works much better, and they usually can use it without too much trouble for a while again. But that's the problem, is it my big issue with a Face ID has been if I'm like on the show, I can't look down at my phone to unlock it. That's one of the reasons I like the thumbprint. Now, that said, the thumbprint has been getting less and less reliable for me because it's been winter and
Yeah, if it's cold at all, I bet it's tough to open those.
Gary, cold for you is like 70.
Right.
That's the point you start putting on gloves and a hat.
We have the opposite problem, is our iPhones will stop working if it gets too hot. It says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. We cannot work anymore.
Which is why I never get a dark colored iPhone anymore. It's always the silver white kind of colors, because I've had too many times where even just sitting on the dashboard in the mount right in front of the air conditioning vent, it dims because it's in its save me from the heat mode.
Right. Struggling mode. Yeah.
But I haven't had a darker colored iPhone since the iPhone 5, which isn't even an iPhone that works anymore. Well, it would work. You just can't use a current OS on it.
Right.
That's how old it is. Let's move on to Bloody Cool that emailed, your recent show on gear inspired me to share 3 pieces of gear. Number 1, Outdoor Research Rocky Mountain Low Gaiters, currently $27 on Amazon. There's nothing quite as unpleasant as having your shoes filled with rocks and weeds. These gaiters are good for all seasons and keep everything out of the shoes. They're the best geocaching investment I've ever made. Have either of you guys actually used the gaiters?
No, but now I'm looking at them thinking I might have to go get those.
They're sort of like waders for your feet.
Well, they're kind of like the bottom part's the ski pants, right? They go over the top of the boots to keep everything out.
Right. Okay. So they're not they're not waterproof.
Not these. There are some that are.
Okay.
But the whole point of this is you don't get stuff stuck.
Right. You'll get gunk in your feet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of the sales pitch on these had been, I don't know for this one, but the Gators in general had been that it's great for walking through the woods and hopefully spotting the ticks before they get buried like in your socks.
Mm.
These
are
cool.
Pretty low-rise Gators.
Yeah.
There's some that come up, either mid-thigh or, even more like a wader, but without the bottom into them. So you slide your boots in, and then if you're really worried about ticks, that's the way to go.
Let's move on to the forceps. Sometimes tweezers just don't have the reach or grip strength. Forceps might cost a bit more, but they make up for it in utility. I rarely use my tweezers now that I carry forceps, and they're $5 on Amazon for one that he sent us a link. And this is another one that I know a lot of cashers that love them. I use usually the tweezers in my Swiss Army knife. I had a set of forceps, and I don't know what I did with them because I just didn't really use them. Though I want to say it was in the Tools of the Trade pack that I got from Going Caching last year.
Mm.
These are kind of big.
I've never been able to afford a full set of forceps, so I've just gotten 3 seps.
That's right. Well,
I guess it's better than 2 seps.
Yeah,
they look a little big to me. What do you guys think? I mean, is that something
that's part of why I don't carry them, is that they're just physically a large enough tool that I just tend to leave it behind. I used to carry the cache bag with me on every cache I went to. Now, I don't go on those big long hikes as much. So it's just whatever I have in my pockets, which is Swiss Army knife and the pen, basically.
There have been times though when I wish I had a pair like that because they got the locking. Like if you can grab something, you can actually squeeze down on the rings of the finger grips, and you can get it locked in. There have been times when I wish I had something that would get that, because you got something stuck in there. So I like that idea, but they're kind of long, and I don't tend to have room for something like that in a small bag.
Moving on to his third and final pick is the Papermate InkJoy Mini Retractable Ballpoint Pens. And he gave us a link for the 10-pack, which is $6 on Amazon. These are pens in fun colors and small enough to fit easily into pockets, tools of the trade pouches, jackets, etc. And they're cheap enough that when you lose one, it isn't a big deal.
That's a good idea.
I'm anxious to actually try one of these out. Not that I've ordered them, but I've been a Space Pen user for pretty much my whole caching career.
Mm-hmm.
I love my Space Pen, and I don't plan on getting rid of it, but I would love to have another pen that I could actually carry with me that's just easier throwaway pen, so I don't have to worry about it. Not that I want to throw it away, but I have lost 2 of the $30 Space Pens.
Those are hard to lose.
Well, they're easy to lose because I got the telescoping one. That's the problem. I got the tiny little one that extends out, and everyone loves playing with it because it doesn't extend the way that anyone expects it to.
Well, I'm telling you, Wits End has one of those, and he keeps it in his wallet.
The Space Pen?
Yes. In the fold of his wallet.
Okay, that's probably one of the cartridges then, right?
I don't know. I just know he has it's not, I guess it's not retractable. The cap can screw onto the back.
Oh, that one. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember the model number, but I know exactly the one you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a little bit thinner, which would be nice.
And it works well there. And I'm like, oh, why don't I do that?
One of the other things that people have done with them is they just take heat shrink tubing and shrink it down over the cartridge. The cartridges aren't that bad. So, the problem though is if you do that, it can leak out because it's under pressure when it gets hot, it does tend to run a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you take it and throw it in with like your Kleenex or something, don't use a Kleenex until you've checked it for ink, but you don't have to worry about it so much.
Right. I have some short Sharpies. They're only about the size of my little finger, and those work really well. I can put those. Usually I turned around to look to see. I usually have one on my GPS lanyard.
That's kind of cool. I like that idea.
The Caching Dead New York says that Uniball, Signal, or Jetstream are the choice that they like the best. So those are a couple more pens to check out if you're into it.
Always good to find a good pen.
Well, we have, get this, more feedback. I know. I'm glad you're all seated because I was surprised too. This one comes from Lullaby for You. It says, hello, boys. I was wondering how those log stamps turned out that Daryl W4 mentioned purchasing for himself and for the missus in episode 325. I was thinking of purchasing one for myself, but I wanted to be worth the cash. See what I did there? CACAG. As always, thanks for the help and thanks for the great show. TFTS. Thanks for the show. There you go.
Well, I promised that I was going to talk about that. And the funny thing is this came in today after I'd already put these in the show notes. So, thanks for the lead in, because otherwise this would have gotten bumped to the next one. So I actually tried two different ones. I tried to try three different ones. So I tried to try the X Stamper Artline Clicks Stamper is the one that we got that I like. It's a 0.35 inch or 9 millimeter round stamp at the back of a pen, and the ink is actually in the stamp itself. So I don't know how long it's going to last, but word is that these last really, really well. And this is what the cashier had that actually motivated us to try it again. It's just a cheap plastic pen. You flip open the back and it's got the little stamp. You hit the page and it's done. That one works really well, and I was amazed at the level of detail it was able to hold.
Yeah, what did y'all end up doing? I noticed in the photo that they have here, they have a star. What did you guys go with, out of curiosity?
Oh, I need to go on my Instagram and find it, but we actually have a photo of one of the first ones. We had one of the local cashiers do a path tag for the wedding.
Okay.
And that set of otters is basically the stamp.
Oh, very
with
cool.
The names at the top in the curve.
And you can read all that in a 9 millimeter impression.
If you get a nice, even stamp, yes, it is very readable.
That's awesome.
It's not like,
well,
really bright and easy because it's only 9 millimeters, but on a good day, it works so well. It's amazing. I was amazed it worked at all, but it's beautiful. I also looked at the X Stamper Click Star, which is a smaller version without the pen. It's only a 1/4 inch or 6 millimeter round. That one, they wouldn't even try it because they said there's no way it can hold up. But if you just have like your initials, that one is probably going to be a good option. And it looks, I haven't tried it, so I don't know, but it looks more rugged than the pen does. And that's my big problem with the pen is it's a cheap pen, but that is my favorite one. Then the other one I mentioned that I tried was an inspection stamp, and these are all metal. It's not self-inking. So it really doesn't work well on the trail because you have to, carry both. However, that thing is so incredibly durable. It's, metal with a metal cap. Wow. This thing is not going to get messed up knocking around in your cash bag. So I do like it. If you're looking for one for like a letterbox kit, that's probably your best bet.
The inspection stamp?
Right. And that's not anyone in particular. They're just metal stamps, and they're called inspection stamps.
Mhm.
You can get them in different sizes and shapes. The one that I did was the 9mm, I think it was again too. And again, it holds up if I can get a good clean stamp.
Mhm.
That's a little harder because you have to get that tiny little stamp down on the stamp pad and onto the paper just right. And with the self-inking, it's much easier.
Give us an idea how much your click stamper cost you.
I think I paid about $20 with shipping.
I was thinking 15 plus shipping. So
well, I want to say it was
really
like 12 or 13 for the stamp or for the pen stamper itself. And then, depending on how you have it shipped, each of them were somewhere around that $20 to $25 mark, out the door. And I didn't get any of these from the same places. I had to shop around. One of the interesting things, though, X Stamper, near as I can tell, is actually a UK company.
Cool.
So it might be cheaper in the UK. It might be more expensive, and might be getting more expensive thanks to Brexit. Who knows?
Correct.
Could be getting cheaper next to Brexit. So
who knows with Brexit, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's definitely, if you're considering it's worth doing. The one thing that gives us problems are the really, really, really narrow, like blinker containers and nanos.
Yeah.
It does fit on most of those, but if you do the full round 9mm, it's going to get clipped.
No, that's true.
And sometimes, they have the tighter spaces where you can barely handwrite two initials. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work at all.
But the cool thing is, it has if the pen was usable or is still working on the other side of your click stamper, you could always just throw a couple initials out there and you're ready to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the cool things about the pen. And one of the guys, the guy who actually turned us on to those pens,
right?
He actually has, I don't think it was him, but someone actually has a date, the word date or something, so that he can hand date it right next to it.
Right.
So he always stamps it and dates it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, guys, this is 47 minutes already. Cool. Even with the late start.
Well, yeah, but it's worth it to stick around and to listen, especially to what Gary has to say.
Oh,
I mean, you guys, you hear us every week, but Gary's special.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are special. That's why
I think he's calling you special in a different kind of way.
Oh, is he making fun of me?
I think he is.
I wasn't. I was actually being sincere.
Gary, I don't think you should have him on your show anymore.
I'm not going to have him on anytime soon.
He's going to insult you, so
But we are going to hang out together, right, Chris?
You better believe it. You know what? We're going to hang out at Geo Woodstock together.
That's right.
However, before that, we're going to stick around and do a bonus show for the patrons because, well, we're running out of time and we still like to talk.
That's right.
And we got a bunch more articles. We did nothing but feedback. We didn't get to talk about any of the articles this time. And we have a bunch of great shows coming up too. So April 26th, just next week, is going to be Earth Caching with the Land Monkey, of course. How can we do a show on Earth Caching?
Oh, wait.
Well, how can we do a show on Earth Caching without doing the Land Monkey?
You got to.
Yeah, you just have to. Mm-hmm. But the first show of May is going to be that geocaching competitions with Geo Monkey Tiger.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation point. Or is it a bang?
Bang. Either way. Well,
no, that sounds like you're shooting a tiger, so no.
With the Geo Monkey Tiger, it's going to be a bang.
And then for a show 332, we're going to be talking about attending mega and giga events with Memphis Mafia of Geocache Talk and Sherman 18. I guess we should say formerly of Geocache Talk.
Yeah. Friend of Geocache Talk now.
There you go. And then 333 is going to be cacheter.no with Plato Attic, who will be also talking at Geo Woodstock. So make sure to check out this show and go, if you're going to Geo Woodstock, check out the talk there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And make sure you check out the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2018 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.